Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. And with Thanksgiving approaching comes the warm memories of family traditions, cooler weather, and comfort food. I've picked out a color palette that represents all those fall feelings. We have the warmth of the golden yellow, terracotta colors, and then some burgundy wine colors, and then just hints of cooler shades, the lavender and some mint greens. I'll be using this one color palette on 2 different pages from these books. All right, so the first page comes from Rita Berman's new book. This is My Trip Around Europe. And I'm going to be working in this page. So this is a cute little cabin with some whimsical trees surrounding. And then you have this beautiful kind of floral leaf with acorns and mushroom design up front. I love the look of the stars kind of hanging down. Everything is just so cozy. It reminds me of the song I used to sing when I was little, "Over the river and through the woods, through grandmother's house we go." So living in the desert in Arizona, the mountains are really the only place where we get to see the leaves change for fall. So it's just nice to imagine going to a little cabin like this time of year. Okay, and then the second page will be from this book. This is Home Sweet Homes by Jen Katz. I love all the sweet little homes in this book. I'm not sure if you would call them fairy homes or garden homes, but I can just imagine them in a garden somewhere. And the page I'll be doing is this one. This page features a little stacked house with a nice big watermill and these cute little characters that look like they've been baking some bread. So nothing says comfort food like homemade bread, right? I feel like I can just smell it coming out of the oven. I really like the cover art on this book. I like the soft muted tones. So for this page I'll still be using this color palette, but I want to really try to focus on coloring light, soft with these muted shades. So I feel like this page is a good host for these colors. Okay, let's get started. The videos ended up being really long, so you get the speed version, and I cut away if it gets too repetitive. But not to worry though, I'll chime in with important tips, and I'll list all my supplies and colors in the description below. I'm playing around with some new and old supplies and different brands, so I will just give generic color names when describing. The cabin front will be peach, terracotta, and burgundy colors, with sage and forest green for the trim. I'll be using a burgundy and pink for the roof, and then a colorless blender to kind of smooth and burnish all those colors together. And then I'll also be using a light yellow underneath the moon to give a warm glow. Each snow-covered tree will have a different shade of green. So this first tree is going to be more in the mint color, and then the second tree will be more in the forest green shades, and then the third tree will be in the sage color. The berries are burgundy, pink, and a little bit of yellow, and the chimney stack is lavender, gray, and a little bit of peach. Working with this floral grouping, I'm going to color all things that I want more golden yellow. Balance that around and then fill in with other colors, keeping most everything in the warmer shades. I'll use lavender for some of the shading and the mushroom stems, but pretty much everything else will be in those warmer, golden yellows, the terracottas, and the burgundy shades, and some pink. Okay, for this fan-shaped plant, I did kind of a base coat of sage green first, and then I'm going over with the burgundy, going back over with the green, and then I'm going to introduce some of that mint green in there too. I think this is a really pretty color combination, and behind that, I'm adding more lavender and mint green. For the rest of the leaves, I'm going to be doing a mix of yellow and orange and yellow and green. For the tree trunks, I want to keep them pretty light, almost like the aspen trees high up in the mountains. So I'm going to use the peach shade, and I'm just going to do an all over base coat, and then I'll be shading with that dusty rose color. All right, next I'm going to be trying something new. I've never used these before. This is a Faber Castell Pitt Pastel. So you use it, I guess, like a pencil. So I'm just going to be filling in between the trees and some of the floral areas, and then up above the trees, like into the background. So I just color it in like a pencil, and then I use a small kind of stiff brush to help kind of move that color around, push it around, and then, you know, spread and soften it. A Q-tip will also help spread that around. I'll be using the mint green for the shadow inside these little snow clusters on top of these branches, and an electric eraser will help get rid of any unwanted pastel dust. And then lavender for the shadow in the clouds. Hey, for the sky, I'm going to be using a pan pastel and this soft tool, which is just a little sponge applicator with a little point on it, which makes it really nice to work around little objects. But I'm actually going to be coloring right over the stars and be using the electric eraser to erase anything that I don't want colored. Now taking that eraser, erasing inside the stars and a little bubble around those stars to give it a halo effect. Light yellow first, and then I'll take the golden yellow and hit right on the inside of the stars and moon. Okay, another Pitt Pastel. This is a green, so I'm just going to, again, use it like a pencil, color all over this ground area. And then I'm going to take a bigger brush and spread and move that color around. It just creates a really soft look. Then I'm taking some yellow and some green and just kind of hitting a couple different areas. And then I'm going to be using the white Posca for highlights in certain areas, and then also to add additional snow mounds up here on the roof and in the grass. A little Stickles for small sparkly bits in the snow will finish it off perfectly. And because I did use pastels, I will be spraying this down with a fixative. Okay, here is the finished page. I love the warm, rich tones of the fall that surround this little cabin, with hints of winter on its way. Okay, on to the next page, which will be a different approach for the same color palette. I have to apologize for the lighting. I'm not sure if it's my camera or the ring light, but it keeps wanting to change from warm to cool, so I'm sorry about this. My first page was more bold in colors, and I want this one to be very soft and light. The pen pastel will give a very soft look, so I'm using this pale yellow for over the house and on this kind of hay looking roof. I'll be using the terracotta, golden yellow, and light yellow for this and treating the texture like if it were hair. So after the initial kind of shading underneath some of these areas, then I'll use a small rough strokes to create that hair-like texture. This kind of looked like a lamp to me, so I'm going to color it a little bit darker at the bottom and then more yellow at the top to make it look like it's glowing. And I'm not sure what this little object is, so I'm going to keep it in the same color families of the yellows and terracotta colors. The watermill will be in shades of peach, dusty rose. The inside panels will be a bit darker, adding some burgundy. Some of the inner components of the wheel will be a lavender and white to help smooth and tone that color down, and terracotta. I also use a light beige color to kind of help shadow some of that yellow area. This little wood shelf is also going to be in those dusty rose colors. For me, it's challenging to create everything really light. I tend to have a heavy hand and want to do everything really dark. So every once in a while, you might see me with an eraser to erase something that got a little too heavy. Some of this stonework is going to be in the green sage color. All right, I'm going to use my electric eraser and erase around this water line. That way, when I'm adding this bluish green color, it shows up a little bit better. I want all the little bread loaves to look warm and like golden, like they've just come out of the oven. So they're all going to have that golden, yellow, and terracotta colors. Hey, using the Pitt Pastel for the grass again, and the brush to help smooth out that color. I love the way it looks. It just is so smooth and creamy looking. I decided, since these are one-sided pages, to use a little bit of alcohol markers. I'm using this light golden brown for the base of the rocks, and then we'll add some terracotta and light yellow for some shadow and highlights. I'm hoping it won't be too dark. I'm using a very light warm gray for a drop shadow effect. This color seems to be fairly transparent, so you can still see some of the color pencil color coming through, which is perfect for a shadow. Sorry, I forgot to move the book down, but I'm using this color also for the shadow of the white areas. Okay, now I'm going to do something kind of fun and kind of different. I'm going to use the tip of these brush markers, and I'm going to create these little dots inside the stonework. So on some of these rocks, so I'm just going to dab little dots. Holding the marker down a little bit longer will create a bigger dot, and then just barely tapping creates a little tiny dot. So I'll be doing this in the stone and then on some of the areas on the house, and some of the green areas. I think I got a little too carried away, but it just was kind of fun to do these little dots around, and I'll show you why I'm doing that at the end. Got to use my white Posca somewhere, so I'm just using it for highlighting the water. And then I'm going to use the Pan Pastels again. This is a very light blue, and a makeup brush, and apply that for around the outside for the sky. And using this brush left a lot more powder or dust around, so just using a Kleenex to clean that off. And I have my kneadable eraser, so any areas that I went over with that pastel, I can just dab off with this eraser. Okay, so I wanted to show you up close the little dots. I think it's so cute. I think it just adds a little extra kind of whimsical touch to these little fun pages. And unfortunately, I can't take credit for those little dots. I actually got the idea from the front cover artwork. If you look closely, you can see those little dots there. And I just love it. I think it was so fun to do. Hopefully I didn't overdo it. They don't have too much. I kind of went dot crazy, but I think it's subtle enough that it works. Oh my gosh, I am in love with these pages. It helped having a great color palette to work with and beautiful illustrations to color in. Even though they are the same color palette, look how different they are just by the techniques used. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you get the chance to create something beautiful with your favorite fall color palette.